Hello, hello, how are you? I hope that you are okay, and I hope that you are not missing being at school too much and that you're enjoying everything. So, obviously, this is going to be the one lesson that I see you every week, every fortnight, which is all about literacy. So, we're reading this, if you remember, which is Stone Cold. We don't have the lovely Liam today, which is a shame because he always does the reading of Link. So if you can remember, let's just go back and remind ourselves about this. Here we go. So we have three main characters. The main characters are Link, Shelter, and Ginger. Now, to remind yourselves, Shelter is the guy who he lived in the army, or he was in the army, and he was discharged, and he's really, really angry about being discharged from the army. So he wants to continue to recruit people, but what he does is he recruits the homeless, because he believes that the homeless people are worthless, they're the dregs of society, they're people that aren't very nice, and so he's really angry about them, and he recruits them by killing them and lining them up in a line underneath his floorboards in his house. So that's Shelter. And he calls himself Shelter because he thinks that that's what homeless people want, which is true. I mean, we've looked at the videos, and you know, most people who are living on the street give anything for a little bit of shelter. Then you've got Link, and that's not his real name anyway, but just to remind you, he moved from up north because he was not getting on with his stepfather. So he moved from the north, and he then tried to get a bed, but he didn't have enough money, so he paid for 2 weeks, but the guy kicked him out, and then he's been homeless ever since. And then there's also Ginger. Now, Ginger is Link's friend. They made friends on the streets, and Ginger sort of took him under his wing, and he really looks after him. But the last time we were reading, we realised that Shelter had actually found Ginger, because they'd split up, hadn't they? They'd gone out, they call it tapping, which is basically begging. They'd gone out tapping and had split up. And what Shelter realised is that Ginger was on his own. So he went to Ginger and he was like, mate, someone's hurt your friend. And then Ginger went over and he was promptly killed. So Link then, you know, spent the time looking around for him. So I'm just going to read a little bit. So we won't read as much as we do in the lessons. So I'm just going to read and then we'll do some work. Okay. So just listen along. I'm trying to find a PDF of the book, but I don't know if I have at the moment. So let's just go. Next day was a Friday. I spent it looking for Ginger. I tapped a bit as well. I had to, or I'd have starved. But all the time I was looking for him and he didn't show. It's happened, I told myself. He's gone back to his real mates like you always knew he might. I kept hoping, though, deep down. And when you're missing someone, you keep seeing them. There's this woman, Mrs. Chambers. She lived next door when I was a kid. When she was about 50, her husband died, and for ages afterwards, she kept seeing him on the street or in the supermarket. She'd jump off the bus or abandon her trolley and go chasing after him. And of course, it was always someone else. And that's what it was like for me that Friday. I'd catch a glimpse of somebody across the road or through the shop window, somebody just like Ginger. And when I got close, I'd find myself gawping at a stranger. It happened half a dozen times. Around dusk, it started to rain, so I went and sat in the doorway at Pratt Street, watching people go in and out of a posh chippy opposite. Normally, the smell of food would have driven me out of my tree, but I guess I was half out of it already. A little voice kept going, Ginger, Ginger, like that. It was doing my head in. I thought, what if he's lying in hospital somewhere, unconscious, and nobody knows where he is or who he is? He might have walked past the end of the street a minute ago looking for me, or maybe he's lost his memory. Because do remember, this is all before mobile phones. In the end, for something to do, I got up and trailed along the station. There was a guy just inside selling the paper. We've read this already, so I'm just reminding you. I walked past him a couple of times and then went up to him. Were you here last night? He asked. Yeah. He looked at me. Why? I'm looking for someone, my mate. We were supposed to meet here last night. I wondered if you'd seen him. He shrugged. I've seen a lot of people last night, hundreds. What do you look like, this mate of yours? Tallish, red hair, a bit older than me, carries a green pack. Ginger, they call him. He nodded. I might have seen him. There's a guy like that last night. I remember, because he was talking to this old fella, shouting something about a hospital. They went off together. Which way did they go? Oh, I don't know, do I? I wasn't taking much notice. It might not have been him anyway. No, I said to him, look, will you do me a favour? Well, that depends. If you see him again, will you tell him Link's been asking for him? Link? Yeah. He mentioned Link, the old guy. Link's been in an accident, something like that. But I'm Link. I haven't been in an accident. Are you sure that's what he said? Yeah, I think so. The other guy acted sort of frantic, pulling him along and shouting. And you didn't notice which way they went? Nah, mate, sorry. I hardly slept at all. Thoughts whirled around and round inside my skull, and I was hungry as hell. There were loads of parked cars on Pratt Street, and people kept coming past, chatting and laughing, banging doors and revving up. I was glad when it started to come light. We had a coffee in an all-night joint and waited till it was time to go along to the market. I kidded myself. I was going for a wash and so on, but really I was hoping that he'd be there. He wasn't, but looking down from the walkway outside the toilets, I spotted the girl Ginger had been talking to in the cafe. She seemed to be by herself this time. I pouted along the walkway, down the steps, and found her looking at the hats. I touched her sleeve. Hi. She returned my hi, but I could tell she didn't remember me. Link, I reminded. I was with Ginger. Oh, yeah, where is he? I was hoping you'd tell me. She shook her head. I haven't seen him since Thursday. Well, me neither. Was it you he was meeting in Holborn? She nodded. Yeah, me, Tim and Ricky, the guys you saw before. We met at the Macklin Street Centre sometimes. Didn't you come back here? I don't know. I told her what the guy in the station had said. She shook her head. Captain doesn't know anyone here except... Ginger doesn't know anyone here except Captain Hook. She frowned. Accident? Hospital? Are you sure the guy wasn't winding you up? Pretty sure. She made a face. Weirdo. I looked at her. I'm worried. I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Toyah. She smiled briefly. Well, it's not really, but that's what I like to be called. I'm worried, Toyah. I've looked all over. I don't know what to do. She shook her head. There's nothing you can do, Link. Guys like Ginger come and go, you know. Move on. Maybe he found work. I looked down, hacking at a muddy banana skin with the termite trainers. If you see him, will you tell him I've been looking for him? She nodded. Sure, if I see him, only don't hang by your feet, okay? Thanks. I had enough dosh for 2 coffees and meant to offer her one. But she moved off without saying goodbye, and I thought, that's the secret. Don't let anyone get close. Don't depend upon anyone, because I'll only let you down. I turned away. From now on, I told myself, I'll worry about me. Just me. It was a resolution I was about to keep for 4 minutes. I went in the cafe, the same one as before. I was trying not to look for Ginger, but I looked anyway. But I'm just going to come out of that a minute. I was trying not to look for Ginger, but looking anyway. There was one empty table. I got my coffee and sat down. The new me. That's what I was thinking. I don't need anyone. Solo and coping. Right. I nursed the coffee. It was warm in here and raw outside, so it paid to stay put. I was halfway down the mug when she walked in. She was dossing. I could see that, but she was the best looking dosser I'd ever seen. I noticed her hair first, chestnut, spilling from under her green knitted cap like fire. Her eyes were terrific too, dark and wide and shining, like she'd just had 12 hours kit. She had on a battered wax jacket, torn muddy jeans and broken down trainers, but she soared above her scruffiness. Her looks and bearing sort of cancelled out. She didn't look at anybody as she crossed the cafe, but everyone looked at her. I couldn't tear my eyes off her. She got a Coke and turned, looking for somewhere to sit. Her eyes, those fantastic eyes, met mine for a second and I smiled. No chance, I told myself. Scruffy little git like you. I was wrong. She came over. Every eye in the place followed her. She nodded at one of the 3 empty chairs. Is anyone sitting there? She sounded Scottish. I can't do a Scottish accent. I shook my head. Do you mind if I join you then? I nodded, saying nothing, being the new me. She unslung her pack, dropped it next to mine and sat down. I lifted my mug and sipped tepid coffee, gazing out the window. I was acting cool, but it was unbelievable, and that's all it was, acting. In the real world, the blood was pounding in my ears, and it was as much as I could do to keep from goggling at that fantastic face. She inserted a straw into her Coke and sucked. I risked a glance at her, and she dropped her eyes. I sipped my coffee, sensing her eyes on my face. I mean, I could actually feel them. After a bit, she said, have you been in London long? I nodded. How long? Year and a half, I lied. Well, in 5 minutes she'd get up and walk away. Right, she sounded suitably impressed. You know your way around then? I shrugged. Some. Man of a few words. What do they call you? Link. Link? She sucked up her Coke. What's that short for? It's short for I have another name, but I prefer to be known by this one. Oh, sorry. She looked sorry. I'm Gail. Oh, hi Gail. Just landed, right? Right, from Glasgow. Yeah. Aha. Have you seen? Hey, stepfather. Say no more. She looked at me. You too? The new me. The guy that doesn't let anyone get close. And here I am, spinning my guts out to the first stranger I meet because she's got nice hair and laser eyes. I drained my mug and pushed back my chair. I got to go. Why? She looked crestfallen. I've got things to do, I said. Don't go. So simple. So direct. I hesitated. What do you want, Gail? Her eyes held mine. I'm scared, Link, she murmured. I don't know what to do, how to live on the street. You'll learn, Gail. That's all. Oh, yeah? Sneered the voice in my head. What about your dependence on Ginger, then? What about your urge to cling on to him? It came to me that this was the first time I thought of Ginger since she walked in, and that was a powerful medicine. Maybe we needed each other. I popped my bag down. So, what you need to do, and you should have read this on the frog thing before you actually see this, is you need to just get it on here. Where's it gone? Right, I'm just trying to find it. Oh, there we go. The workbook. So you can either just rewind this, go back to the start and listen to this again. And you just got to answer these questions here. All right, what does Link think has happened to Ginger? How does Link describe Ginger? What advice does Toya give Link, and does she take his advice? I was halfway down the mug when she walked in. Who is Link talking about, and how does he describe her? Here's a really important question. Why is Link trying to act cool around this girl? You know, he's just lost Ginger, so he's trying to be a bit... Where is Gail from, and why is she homeless? Why do you think Link decided to stay with her, and do you think he makes the right decision? So explain. So this is another nice thing I'd like you to do. Imagine that you are Link. Write out a list of instructions for a newcomer to the street, somebody like Gail. So you can write, I don't know, maybe write it out like it's a leaflet, or write it out as if it's, you know, something for, say, if you're new, turning up in London for the first time, what are the things that you would suggest somebody does in order to stay safe in London? And when you've done that, what I would like you to do is to send it to me, or either on an email or on a Word document. Okay? And I hope that you're all well. So stay safe and stay well.